here have heard of the Nintendo Wii? Okay, fantastic. And how many people here have heard of Pranav Mistry? Okay, even better. So I was researching during my spare time about. I saw Pranav Mistry's video, and I was actually quite awestruck, like most of us who have seen his videos. And I wanted to do something similar. I've always been interested in human-computer interaction and computer vision. And as I delved deeper, I realized that the Nintendo Wii happens to be a very inexpensive and very powerful tool which we could probably use to create a new means of control for applications. Yes? Yes, Project Natal featuring the Xbox. Yeah, I have heard of it. It allows full body control, etc. Yes, I know. But I'm not here to talk about that. So what I have done is I went to Google and I went to YouTube and I found out that people were going crazy since the Wii came out. And since this gentleman called Brian Peak, who works for Microsoft, actually created a library for Windows users to create applications using the Wii remote. So what really piqued my curiosity was that why does something like this have to be bound to an operating system? Every application I saw was based on C#, .NET, and people were having a lot of fun. So I took it upon myself to bring this to Ubuntu or Linux. Before we get into technical details, what is intuitive control? Intuitive control is made of two words, intuitive, which means something that comes naturally, something that you don't need pre-processed learning for, you don't need to train yourself. You nowadays interact with touch screens every day on your cell phones and on your tablet PCs. 10 years ago, touch screens were very much present, but they weren't as prevalent. And now, it's more prevalent simply because applications have tuned themselves according to, you have gestures, you have multi-touch and whatnot with the iPhone coming out and really changing the paradigm for touch-based interaction. And what really do we see in the future? We started out sitting at a distance using a mouse. We moved to touch. And if any of you have seen the movie Minority Report, you see Tom Cruise going haywire, and that's what Pranav Mistry brought to the table. So I'm going to show you how you can integrate, he's done a great deal over the last 6 years of his research. Maybe something similar to revamp your everyday applications. When you talk about a new means of intuitive control, what are the various things, like someone mentioned the Kinect, which is coming up. If you trace the history of the Kinect, it was codenamed Project Natal by Microsoft, and work has been going on the Project Natal for the last 6 years, for nearly more than half a decade. And 6 years of hard labor, and that is the product. So you have to really see the lifetime that you spend in research and the product that you dish out. You have to worry about the complexity of the interface. Nobody wants to use something that is overtly complicated. I mean, I don't really want to bend backwards and forwards just to, press OK. And one of the most important aspects of a new technology is always its cost. If it's not economical, it will not come down to the masses. Touch screens didn't come down to the masses until recently. Because back in the day around 98, when, single point touch screens were invented, they were just being used by the defense or, by space agencies because they were expensive. The Wii remote costs, I think, about $42. And if you can tune your applications to, interact with the Wii and give yourself a new means of interaction at $42, I think that's a steal. Now, what is it that the Nintendo Wii can do for us? It's a really powerful sensor. It has an accelerometer. It has an infrared camera. It has is limited but useful. It has various buttons, and it even has a small motor that gives you a force feedback, so to say, when you're playing the game. So I'm going to take you through the various ways in which you can harness the power of all these sensors using Python on Linux. Just a small how this is open source. I was scanning the internet for various projects or libraries which might help me interact with the Wii. From my experience with the Wii on Windows, I realized what they did lack was Bluetooth connectivity. It's quite annoying if you have to manually pair it with your computer and go about launching the app only after the pairing has taken place, just like you do on your Bluetooth phones, right? You naturally pair a device. But pairing the Wii sometimes can be quite cumbersome, and the user experience is it's just ruined. On Linux, I found the Seaweed project at abstractcraft.org, which gave me a C library to interact with the Wii over Bluetooth. And more than anything, it provides a Python wrapper. And we all know how much fun Python is, as opposed to coding in C. So I urge all of you to explore this. Surprisingly, this project was completely redundant, and I don't think anyone was developing it further. So I hope to revitalize that project and arouse a little interest in the open source community for this project as well. Moving on. So if the project was already there and the Wii remote's already here, then why am I standing on stage, like I'm some guru? What I did, the object structure that was given by the Seaweed project and the threading module that Python provides. Now what you have is the Wii remote running in a separate thread of your application as an independent device pumping data. And it's plug and play. You just insert a Wii remote object and start reading the data. It's really simple, and we're going to get to how is there something wrong that I'm doing here? Yeah, thanks. So it's, as I said, it's plug and play, and it's very convenient to use, and it's perfect for anyone who's looking to make a college project or who's even trying to make a more or less professional application. So what I've created is a Wii Grab. That's the module. It basically allows you to grab all sorts of events that are generated from the Wii mode. Okay. A bit more about what the Wii remote actually offers as far as Python and the this tabulation, you'll note that the accelerometer and the buttons and the LEDs all actually come to you in one big dictionary. So what this wrapper is going to allow you to do is read data from the Wii remote, and the Wii remote is going to pump one big dictionary for you. Each key will hold a certain set of values. So you'll have the accelerometer data, you'll have the data from the infrared cameras, You will have data from the LEDs and which buttons are being pressed. And all of these come in their raw form. So there's nothing, it's not modified in any way. It's the raw data, raw tangible data, and it's up to your creativity to exploit it in any which way you see fit. If you pay attention to the last row, the library also supports an external pluggable joystick called a nunchuck. If you've played one of those boxing games, they give you two controllers which can hook up to the Wii. So you can actually not just get data from one joystick, you can actually get the data from a parallel joystick which can be hooked up to the Wii. All right, so I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to get straight to it. We're just going to go about seeing how to create a simple application that can connect to the Wii remote over Bluetooth and can just do one basic thing, read the data. That's all it does, and it will show you how the data actually streams through and what the data looks like in its raw form. And that's it. And that's as much code as you have to write. If you, in fact, if you remove all the comments, you'd realize there's barely any code. You have a main routine, which creates a Wii remote object. As you can see, WeGrab.Wiimote event grabber. And what you basically do is, it's important that once your data is coming from the Wiimote, you want to do something with it. Now, how do you incorporate this in a convenient, easy-to-use structure? I've used something called, and being an embedded programmer, we used to do this all the time. We have something like a callback routine. So the thread is running, and whenever there's a report that comes from the Wii remote, it says, okay, I have to just take this report and dump it into a function which you declare. That is some event handler. If you have done programming on some kind of a GUI toolkit, you would realize that when you click, there is an event for click. When you press the enter key, there is an event for the enter key. Just like that, it gives you an event-based structure. And whenever the report comes from the Wii remote, that event is triggered. So you can see in my event handler, all I'm doing is using a print statement to show you the raw data. The second line basically tells you that I want to see what the LEDs on the Wii remote look like. So are they lit? Are they turned off? And I'm just toggling the LED. Another important thing that you can do is based on how intensively you want to sample the data from the Wii remote, you can set a time interval. I've currently set that to 1 second. If you look at that, if you look at the initialization, there's an argument of 1, which tells it that I want to sample data from the Wii remote every second. Let's go ahead and run this app. So when you want to make your Wii remote discoverable, all you do is press these two buttons, and you'll see the lights start flashing. And this is when I'm praying and hoping that everything goes well and I don't have to reboot my computer. So, perfect. So you can see that the data is streaming through. This is the actual data from the Wii remote. It's organized in a big dictionary, and it looks really abstract and cryptic. And that part about the LED turning on and off, if you can see this, it keeps changing its status every 1 second. That's exactly what we intended for that little minuscule app to do. Let's talk more about the data. If you just pay attention to the last raw data that was pumped out, you can see that there is a key called accelerometer, and you can see that the accelerometer is nothing but a tilt sensor. Jeez. My mom's always worried about where I am. So you can see that the data along the three axes is very clearly given to you, and I'm not going to really go into specifics about what the data means and how you should manipulate it. That's totally up to you. It's very simple. Whenever there's a tilt on the Wii remote, the values of that change. You can see the LED, which has been constantly changing from 1 to 0 and back, is also present. An important part of this demonstration, which is going to be the infrared camera and how you can use that to actually mimic motion capture. So I'm just going to show you something. This here is a homemade infrared pen, right? It's your simple marker. All I did was take all the juice out and put in a small battery cell and connected it to an infrared LED. Now I'm going to show you, we'll run this app again, and here I make it discoverable. All right, so you can see essentially the same app. Now, what I'm going to do is, you can't see infrared radiations. That's why they're very useful, because they don't provide any visual disturbance when you're creating these things. So when I point this, you can see the data changing. And if I release it, you can see none, 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 none. And now you can see that there is a slight XY, there's a Cartesian coordinate which is being provided. If I move that around left and right, you can see those figures changing. So essentially what it's doing is that it is tracking the motion of a light that I'm projecting at a distance quite as far and even further and even further. So it tells me that I can actually interact with my computer from a distance which is close to 6 feet. So what do you do about this data? What is this none, 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 none? The Wii remote, if you notice, we play Wii tennis. That's a very common game. And up to 4 people can play. 4 guys can play a doubles match on the Wii. And what the Wii really has is a very simple, they have exactly this, right? Which they sell at a premium of $20. It's called the sensor bar. The sensor bar is nothing but 2 LEDs pasted together, which you put on top of your television. So let's take a look at that. Just one second. I could probably, okay, I don't have that slide here. So the sensor bar is kept in front of your television, It's 2 LEDs. So wherever you move the Wii remote, the relative position of the LED with respect to the Wii remote also changes. So I thought that, if you can keep the LED stationary and move the Wii remote, why can't you just keep the Wii remote stationary and move the LEDs? So I created something like, it looks ugly, but what it allows me to do is it allows me to wear that pen on my finger, quite like the caps that Mr. Pranav Mistry has created. You could see the multicolored caps, and he's probably using some kind of color recognition or color tracking using the webcam. So I basically can now, prance in front of my Wii remote with 2 LEDs strapped to my fingers. More on this later. Let me just show you another simple app where you can actually harness the buttons, right? So let's see the source code for that real quickly. And yeah, so the main is almost identical. If you look at it, the main is absolutely the same, except for the fact that instead of having 1 second, I'm sampling at a much faster rate. The default rate for sampling is about 1/100th of a second. So you get really live and smooth data coming from the Wii remote. In my handler, where I've decided what my application is going to do with the data, all I'm saying is tell me what the button values are, and each of these buttons has an integer value associated with it. I've written a resolver which decodes simultaneous button presses. And I basically just, if I press more than 3 buttons, I get a force feedback using the vibrator. So we'll just quickly show it's more of a gimmick actually. So, but it gives you a fairly good idea of what you can do using the buttons on the Wii remote. So again, I'm going to turn on, and as you can see, I'm not doing anything except running my application. It takes care of finding the Wii remote once it's discoverable. I don't have to do any manual pairing. I don't have to enter a pairing code. I don't have to do anything of that sort. So it basically tells me that my application is running. Looks kind of, let's see what happens when I press a button on the Wii remote. You can see that I've pressed the A button, and now I'm going to press the 1 button. And as I said, 3 together and you get a buzz. I don't know if anyone can hear the buzz, I'm not quite sure. But you press 3 buttons together and right? So this is basically just a sample code, so to say. When you're like using this library, you can go through it and see how to interact with buttons, how to play around with the LEDs, how to control the vibrator, so on. So let me just close this and go back to the more interesting parts of the presentation. All right, so what have we learned so far? We've seen how you can simply, using a few lines of code, connect to the Wii remote, sample data, and do something really silly with it for the time being. Okay. All of us have been using the mouse, I think, for as long as we can remember. Have you ever wondered that, you're moving the mouse on the table? You move it probably by an inch, but the mouse pointer actually displaces all the way from one corner of the screen to the other, right? And you might lift the mouse and keep it somewhere else, but it doesn't really affect the position of the mouse, and it still flows smoothly from the point where it started. I call it iterative displacement. What the mouse basically does is sends displacement as opposed to measuring distance between 2 points. So the motion of the mouse can be categorized by a set of points, and those points are actually sent, the data, the coordinates of those points are sent to your computer, where the driver for the mouse actually just scales that displacement and equates it on the mouse pointer. So you move by an inch here. You have something called mouse sensitivity. I'm sure everyone's used mouse sensitivity in their control panel or the mouse settings on Ubuntu. The more sensitive, the more distance you can, seemingly cover with a smaller stroke. So I'm using the exact same principle to now have more than one point of control. The mouse is just one mouse. You can theoretically have 4 infrared points in front of the Wii remote. So I'm going to use that concept to basically show you how applications can be made a little more dynamic. Yes, I think this is something where a lot of you might have seen stuff off the web and off my blog. All I'm creating is a simple application which will have 2 points, just 2 points, one blue dot and one red dot. And I'm going to move those 2 dots using my fingers with those pointers strapped onto it. So let's go and get that done. By the way, all UI is in Qt. So if you are trying to build these or if you're trying to use these, make sure you have the Seaweed library, Python Seaweed, and Qt4 running on your machine. So you see that it's just a simple window with a blue dot and a red dot in either corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on. I'm going to first pick and now you can see if I just move my right hand, the red dot moves, and if I move my, and all of them are moving together. It's not like, I move one dot first and I move the other one later. I'm moving them free of each other. I can do all sorts of things with this kind of, interactivity. This is exactly where probably Pranav Mistry started off by moving a few dots, and now with extensive research and support, he's able to do a lot more. So this is a basic application which will probably tell you how you could use the concept of iterative displacement to move objects, virtual objects, on an application like this. I will discuss this particular application because it's the simplest IR tracking application. The source code in detail so you guys can see how exactly things happen. So let's move on to the next application. So I'll just close this and return to the presentation. So you've seen how you could use your fingers with IR LEDs to control two discrete objects on a Python program. I mean, it's just a program, it has a UI, it has two dots, and we're controlling it in space. Using this concept of just tracking 2 points, I came out with 4 applications, each of which scales in complexity. So I'm going to take, how many of you have played that Arkanoid? Anyone's played Arkanoid, Brick Breaker, whatever? I'm not really a game developer. In fact, my UI kind of sucks, but nonetheless, I'm going to give it a shot and show you exactly how this can revitalize simple applications such as the Brick Breaker. So, you see, I have an unfair advantage. This ball will keep bouncing around, and I can actually, and your bar in Arkanoid is fixed, but my bar can actually go all the way. So that was a simple, I mean, there is very little for you to do in order to revitalize a simple application like this. The application's code in itself takes care of everything. Just like you use your mouse, you don't care which mouse it is, what make it is. Your application understands it to be a mouse. Exactly in the same manner, I'm able to displace, just provide inputs and create events, which automatically tell the GUI exactly what to show. Moving on to the next application, Paddle War, the famous Pong game. How many of you have played Pong on the Atari? Not too many on the Atari, I know. Everyone hates that company. So essentially, this is an example of an application where you can have 2-player gaming, So assume my right hand's one player and my left hand's the other player. So, okay. Oh shit, blue scores. I'm actually really bad with using both my hands, So, looks like blue's gonna win this. Can't let that happen, can we? Basically, so you get the idea, if you have more than one user, it creates a simple multi-user interface where more than one participant can, use the application. I have incidentally programmed this application to respond to static keyboard events. How many of you have tried playing a port of Contra on your Windows or Linux PCs. You remember Contra? Right? Try playing that using your keyboard. Two people clobbered on one keyboard and you're like fighting for space. And so here I can actually control it using my keyboard, but I can't really have because when the red is moving, the blue won't move. Keyboard events in games, generally, multiplayer games tend to be uncomfortable, but using something as simple as the Wii and two dots, you can have two people use one application more intuitively. Let's move on to the next application. All right, this video of the next application, I think a lot of you who have been following my blog have seen. This actually takes our understanding of what we can really do with this kind of simple technology as far to the next level. It's just a simple app, but it really proves the concept of a very important application. It's called, yeah. Now, okay, there's the red dot again. And all of us have always probably wanted to use our hands more intuitively. So what is the first thing that you'd like to, at least I liked to do, was I wish I could change objects like I do with my mouse. I could stretch them apart here and there. So I went ahead and thought about it, and I said, well, it's really very simple. What really happens is that when you drag your mouse, you change the shape of an object. So on one end, I'm moving this object over here, but when I bring my second hand close, I can actually go about changing the shape of the object. And when I use one hand again, I can go about moving it. So you can see I can actually just stretch it open, fold it up, bring it back to a small box, or just make it really long. It's how your application reacts that is important. This is very simple, all that the application in this case is doing, you can actually see, I don't really see behind me, but this is quite real time over here. So all that the application is doing in this case is telling that red box that you have to change in this manner when you when you get these events from the Wii remote, right? So again, single-handed control, two-handed transformations. That is the first step towards creating entire workspaces where you could manipulate objects more intuitively. You might have seen, I don't know if you're aware of Natural User Interface Group. It's basically a community of programmers who've gone on, they've taken touch as their medium, and they have actually gone on to show how productivity applications like your Word, your PowerPoint can be enhanced to give you a completely new experience just using gestures. So, there is no finite workspace. Everything can be manipulated using your hands. This is just a sample app, as I said, to show you how you can go about doing that. Again, as the speaker before me said, it's cool, but the only thing that you are limited by is your creativity regarding all these things. All right, when I talk about virtual workspaces, which are sensitive to the motion of my hands, I can't just show you guys a red box that goes from left to right and actually think that you guys are going to buy it. So I went the extra mile and created the first touchless workspace, which I'm going to show you right now. It's a simple puzzle which I'm going to solve, or at least try to solve, using my hands. So let's see how that goes. How many of you have heard of dual click? Dual click. It's very common in Ubuntu that you just don't use mouse buttons. You keep your cursor on something and it selects it. That's exactly the concept that I use in this application. Again, you can see there are two different colored dots at the top left and right corner. And what I'm going to do is essentially give myself 2 points of control. With a mouse, you have only 1 point of control. With this, you can have up to 4. So imagine if I was wearing 2 more, I could actually do a lot more. So here's, you can see that I'm controlling these, and I'm going to pick up these 2 image objects, and I'm going to try and do something useful. Let's bring that here, and, wrong. Okay, so that's how you can actually create a small virtual workspace where you can literally manipulate objects and their positions using 2 points of control. We all talk about multi-touch. This is touchless multi-touch. So as you can see that I have this cursor and this one to manipulate this image in any way I see fit. So that was one of the touchless workspaces that I created. It's really small, but with due time, you can see the potential where you have entire workspaces which can be manipulated with multiple points of control, as Pranav Mistry has done in some of his groundbreaking research. Yeah. The last application is very simple. We use the mouse pointer every day. So I was thinking that why not just change the way we use the mouse? There's no mouse, and I only have a finger, and I'm just going to control my mouse pointer using a finger. Why is this so important? Simply because the mouse is part of every operating system. It doesn't bind you to a particular operating system. It's the most commonly used form of interaction with computers. Even your touch screens actually simulate, to a large extent, mouse clicks in the older touch screens. And all applications that you're using on your computer need not be redesigned. If you can control the mouse, you can pretty much do anything you want on your computer. So how do we do it? I use something called the X Automation Framework, which basically simulates mouse events and keyboard events. And it just the application samples the events from the Wii remote, understands that this is something that needs to go somewhere else onto the mouse, and it just throws up a mouse event, which my application says, oh, somebody's telling me to move the mouse, so I'm going to move the mouse. So let's take a look at that. All right, so you can see that I'm able to control the mouse, and let's do something we do on a daily basis. That is click and drag the window. Oops. Oh, Ubuntu. Okay, let's just open the menu. So this is something that you normally would do using your mouse, right? But I am doing it standing so far from my computer, and this is exceptionally good if you can improve this application and for a presentation point of view. Talking about a presentation, I'm going to show you one very simple app I wrote using the X Automation Framework, which allows me to use this as a wireless controller. I'll tell you the history behind it too. Yeah, just 5 minutes, right? All right, sure. So I'm just going to close this. And I made an application called Wii Control, which was basically to help me watch my movies from a distance when I was sleeping. So it basically doesn't have any user interface. All the LEDs are on, so that tells me that now I can simply use the buttons. As I told you, I'd come back to the buttons. You can use the buttons to wirelessly control it. You buy wireless presenters and all sorts of stuff. If you have one of these, you can do so much with, as far as controlling a computer is concerned. So you can see that I could probably just, you know, do exactly what I would normally do with a mouse, just using the buttons on the Wii remote. I think I've run out of time to spare, and they want to toss me off. So I'm going open source with all my code through my blog and through a SourceForge project tonight. So if any of you are interested in figuring the whole labyrinth out, please feel free to contact me and download the source from my blog. Thank you. It was a wonderful audience, and it was a wonderful experience at PyCon.